Hey guys, what's up? It's AJ and welcome back to another Hypixel Skyblock video. In today's video, I'll be going over Floor 7 and a complete guide on how to efficiently do Floor 7 and also what you need to complete Floor 7 efficiently. Floor 7 is very popular. As most of you guys know, you can get one of the best drops in Hypixel Skyblock, which is the Necron's Handle. As you can see yesterday, I did do a Floor 7 and I happened to drop a Necron's Handle, which is a lot of profit. As you can see there, 811 million from claiming. So Necron's Handle definitely help a lot. It's why I have a billion coins in my bank account right now. So Necron's Handles are very game changing because it can allow you to craft a Hyperion or a Scylla or a Straya or a Valkyrie, and they are some of the best weapons in the entire game. So now let's get right into the guide and I'll show you guys exactly how to complete Floor 7 efficiently. Alright, so before we continue any further into this video, make sure you guys are subscribed as I am really trying to hit 2,000 subscribers before the end of the year. So go do it. Alright, so first of all, I'll be starting with something that's very simple and overlooked that most people don't have. So if you go over to more, this is where you can join dungeon parties. So as you can see here, all my parties are sorted by highest kata requirement to lowest kata requirement. This allows you to be able to get the best group you can possibly join. So go over here to search settings and then to sort groups. This is default set on to recently created. I would do it to highest dungeon level. This allows you to join the highest kata always. The highest kata requirement you can. So as you can see, it just goes right down the list, and then you can join the best party you want. So that is what I would suggest doing. So that's something that most people do not do, and then they ended up not joining the best party that they can. Also, before we get in the dungeon run, a huge thing that every single player should have is a spirit pet. Let me see if I can find it quickly. Alright, yep, spirit pet. As you guys can see here, Half-Life, the perk, if you are the first player to die in a dungeon, the score penalty for that death is reduced to 1. I cannot tell you how many times this has saved a dungeon run from being S or from S to instead of S+. So it's absolutely crucial that everyone has Spirit Pet because you never know when you might die, when you might be the first death of the party run. This also reduces it even if you disconnect from the run. Also, another thing right before we head into the run, make sure you guys have Kismet's Feather. Right now it is derpy, so it's kind of hard to buy them, so you have to buy them with bits. But once derpy is over, I would definitely suggest using Kismet's on floor 7 and M7. But those are the two floors that you should be using them on. Also, make sure in your runs you have someone who's blood rushing, because that just makes the run so much more efficient. A lot of times, people will not know who is blood rushing, and then before you know it, you'll have a very slow blood rush, and that basically makes a fast run impossible to have happen. Also, another thing, as we're clearing this run right here, you want to make sure you have a high amount of speed. So what I have is, I have Maxor boots and Maxor leggings and a Storm chestplate and Wither goggles as my helmet. That allows me to one-shot everything with a Hyperion, but also have 400% speed throughout the clear. So this is how you can get the fastest and most reliable F7 runs. Because that at the end of the day, that's what everyone wants. Everyone just wants a fast F7 run where no one throws and dies at the end. So as you can see, I got like a 52-second blood rush, not the best, but honestly, anything under a minute is fine because that means you can enter in about 2.5 minutes into the run. Also, being mage during clear is another huge thing that's super nice. I don't think people realize, but being mage during clear helps speed your run-ups by so much just because of the ability with the guided sheep, which allows you to break crypts. This saves, a few seconds here and there throughout the whole run, which definitely speeds it up. Also, try not to room stack, because I mean, as you saw there, that guy was clearing the room. So instead of trying to get the secrets in that room, I ended up going to another room, which is actually 0 out of 10 secrets. Also, guys, when you are clearing rooms in dungeons, this is more just general in dungeons, you want to make sure that you have, you want to make sure that you actually clear the entire room. I mean, I can't count how many times someone gets, like, in this room, like, 5 out of 10 secrets, and then it even takes longer for the next person to come along and clear it because they don't know which 5 secrets they got. So it really just adds a lot of time. So I'd highly suggest when you are clearing a room for secrets, sorry, make sure you get all the secrets in the room and not just some of them. Also, make sure you have a stonk. That's another huge thing. As you can see there, I just saved, you know, probably 5-10 seconds just having the stonk ready. And also, I feel like I'm pretty qualified to talk about F7 as I have nearly, I want to say, over 1,300 completions. Once I clear this room, I'll quickly show you. Let's see how many I've got. I have 1,314, and I recently just dropped my 3rd handle. But I didn't get my first handle until 1,121, so... But yeah, I've gotten 3 within the past 200, basically, which is crazy. Also, another thing, another efficient thing here is, as you guys can see in the chat, the guy called Left Crystal, which does make the crystal phase go faster. I was just at least having 2 mages in the party just so they can get those. And now for this laser part, this is a huge thing that can really speed up a lot of runs. I don't think a lot of people know about. But when you lure Maxor underneath the laser, you don't want to get him down to 25% health, just like they have done. What you want to do is get it between 80% and 30%, so then it will stay underneath the laser while the next 2 people get crystals. This means you don't have to re-lure underneath the laser, which means you can probably save at least another 5 to 20 seconds here in this phase. But, you know, obviously this was just a random run, so they did not do it correctly, but that's alright. Another thing is you gotta be a little bit, you gotta be forgiving in 4-7 runs. I mean, you know, things are not gonna go great. You just have to accept that. Another thing here is, honestly, you might as well clear out all these wither miners in 4-7 because you get so much XP. I mean, as you guys can see, I'm nearly combat 60, and I feel like a decent portion of that is just from killing the wither miners. So after we've gone over what to do in a run, I'm going to show you guys what gear I would recommend having for 4-7. So now in terminals, a lot of times people will skip Simon Says just because they don't want to do it. So what I like to do sometimes is just, lag back. And that is also something you have to get used to. I'd recommend wearing a slime hat when you do Simon Says. That means you cannot get knocked off the ledge. Sometimes you get unlucky, and Goldor over here fires his sword at you like 100 times, and it keeps knocking you off. So, best thing you can do is just to wear a slime helmet, because that grants 100% immunity to knockback. But just make sure you take it off, because if you don't, you'll just start swimming in lava. Also, another thing is to get... and that is something you just have to deal with. I just lagged back 3 times in lava and died. That's just fantastic. And honestly, I don't really get it that some people don't have Spirit Pet, because I've seen people literally with a Hyperion and not have Spirit Pet. And Spirit Pet's only about, I want to say like 5 mil coins, and they have a Hyperion that's worth like 1.5 billion. So, and also it's kind of crazy how expensive Hyperions are. Which is making 4-7 even more beneficial. I mean, more profitable, just because how much strolls are even worth now. Strolls are a huge profit. I dropped so many strolls, but unfortunately most of them were when they were only like 2 mil profit, and now they're like 200 mil profit, which is insane. So as you can, so now for the Goldor phase, you'll just have Archer, basically just do all the damage here. They should be able to do plenty of DPS. Yeah, and honestly, this run isn't too bad, going to the final stage of Necron at 8 minutes. It's not great. Earlier today, I was getting some pretty good runs, like 6.5 minutes and stuff like that. So, but you know what? Every run is different, especially when you just randomly join Party Finder. And the server is pretty laggy, as you guys can see. But just another thing you guys will have to deal with in 4-7. So you guys can either go middle or not go mid. It's really up to you. I mean, obviously, as you guys can see here, we have plenty of DPS happening, so I think we're fine, and I don't think I have to go mid. So, check out Bedrock Chest, negative, a little bit of profit, not sure if it's worth it though, and reroll, and, lag, okay, and negative 2 mil profit, fantastic. Alright, so, that is unfortunate, and I got Feather Falling 6 book for profit. That's fantastic. And yeah, now I'll see you guys outside the dungeon. So now I'll just quickly go over some of the nice things that every dungeon player should have. So now for pets, I would say if you're Berserk or even Mage and you don't have enough money for an Ender Dragon pet, I would suggest going a Baby Yeti pet. I would suggest getting Legendary because you gain 75% of your strength as defense, while an Epic only gives 50% of your strength as defense. So if you're struggling to survive, I would definitely use Baby Yeti. Now for the item held in dungeons overall, I'd say you always want to use the Dwarf Turtle Helmet. I mean, as you can see here, makes the pet's owner immune to knockback. But that is not all knockback, as you still take true knockback, and that's why the slime hat comes in handy at some points within the dungeon run. So now that we know what pet we should be using, sorry. So I would suggest Baby Yeti pet for most Berserks or Archers if you don't have Ender Dragon, or even Mages if you're really struggling to survive. Or if you want as a Mage, you can also use a Blue Whale pet, because that will gain because when you use a Blue Whale pet, you will gain a lot more health, which will drastically increase your EHP. Another thing that you can use as an archer is a Wither Skeleton. I wouldn't really suggest it though, because a lot of times you're gonna just instantly get killed. I would suggest using Baby Yeti if you're archer, if you don't have an Ender Dragon or a Golden Dragon. So now for the armor, I would suggest wearing 3-Force Necron armor if you don't do that much damage. But if you do damage, I would recommend switching out for Maxor boots. All right, so now let's start to go over the mage setup that I use. So what you want to use is you want to have Wither Goggles, which I believe has a Cata 28 requirement. If you can't use Wither Goggles, I would suggest using the Undead Goggles or whichever one's the one right below Wither Goggles. And I was just playing Hecatome. Hecatome really adds up and really will give you a lot more dungeon XP the further you go along. And now for the chestplate, I suggest using a Necrotic Storm chestplate, or you can use a Loving chestplate, really up to you. And if you do have the money, I would definitely put Wisdom on it and put your gemstone slots, because that will grant you a bit more intelligence when the run, and that is ultimately what determines how much damage you do with right-click weapons such as Hyperion. And now for the leggings, I have Necrotic Maxor leggings, and I also have Necrotic Maxor boots. This allows me to be at nearly 400% movement speed throughout the whole dungeon. But if I did not do enough damage with my Hyperion, I would swap the leggings out for Storm leggings, as you can see here, and then you would definitely do enough damage to all the mobs. And obviously at lower cattle levels, you will need more pieces of the Storm armor. You might even need a full set of 3-4 Storm with Necrotic Wither Goggles. And if you do want higher speed, I would recommend using a Rogue Sword, because as you can see here, grants plus 100 speed for 30 seconds. So just having this somewhere in your hotbar will drastically increase your movement speed. Another thing you guys should have is some kind of stonk. Usually you can use a golden pickaxe, which is called a stonk. You can buy it from the end. Or as you can see here, I have an efficiency 10 pickaxe. It just allows you to break through walls a bit quicker. Another very convenient thing to have is a Bonzo staff. It really helps with movement, especially in the boss area. Being able to go from on the mainland to the pad, it allows you to be able to jump straight there without having to bounce through the lava. Next thing up is Infinite Leap. You guys don't need Infinite Leap, but you do want to have Spirit Leaps on you, because a lot of times if you guys lag back into lava or get stuck somewhere, just having Spirit Leaps in your inventory, in your hotbar specifically, you can quickly right click and leap to someone else to survive. Another thing is Jerry's Sheen Gun. This is basically essential for getting crystals. Because as you can see here, I'll put up the clip here of me getting the crystals. Basically flying up, you basically hold right click up against the wall at this angle, and you'll be able to easily get the crystals. Now, next up is Wither Cloak. Wither Cloak actually recently got a huge nerf where it only lasts for 10 seconds and has a 5-second cooldown if you disable it, and a 10-second cooldown if it just runs out of mana or runs out of the 10 seconds. So this is a pretty bad nerf, but it's still definitely playable. Wither Cloak is great for bouncing in lava, so you don't take any damage. Also, if you're quite weak, and this is actually more applicable to Master Mode, but Wither Cloak is necessary when dealing with Shadow Assassins, because you'll have your Wither Cloak ability activated, then it'll teleport behind you, and then you walk backwards, and then you right click with an Ice Spray wand, and then fire your Terminator to kill him. But Wither Cloak is very necessary for that, and I would recommend you might as well put Ultimate Wise on it because it's going to use a lot less mana. Another piece I have in my inventory is Defuse Kit. Obviously, it's nice to have. Super Boom TNT, you need that. And then also Gyro Wand. Gyro Wand is pretty nice to have as well. Just being able to left click it and be able to move all the mobs into one area. Again, more useful in Master Mode, specifically M6. Ice Spray Wand, another nice thing to be able to kill mini bosses, just to freeze them, not be able to make them move. And then over to Slime Hat. This thing costs literally 104 coins to craft. I don't understand how more people don't have it. Again, it's very nice on when you're doing Simon Says with in the terminal area. You really need this. It's very nice just to be able to not take knockback and not worry about it. But do make sure you switch out of this because then you will just die in lava if you jump in lava. Next up is Dungeon Chest Key. Honestly, I just keep collecting them as I run through dungeons, and they basically allow you to open an additional treasure chest at the end of a dungeon run. Next up is Bonzo Mask. Whenever the score gets to 300 exactly or 301, you've already had more than one death. I was just putting on Bonzo Mask just to make sure you don't die. Lastly, I have Dungeon Orb, just because why not? Because actually, I think you need it in your inventory to be able to use a dungeon ability. Archer, like rapid fire and stuff like that. I'm not sure about that, but let me know in the comments if that is true. Then for my equipment, I've got some strengthened pieces right here, Implosion Belt, and Gauntlet of Contagion. Alright, so now lastly, let's cover some of the weapons you guys should have. So a Hyperion is it's fantastic. It's a great weapon, especially if you're mage. Even if you're other classes, it's just a great weapon for clearing. Probably the most overpowered weapon in the game. So next up is the Terminator. As you can see here, it is super overpowered, especially in dungeons and outside of dungeons. Basically destroys everything in dungeons, especially floors 1 through 7. And then in Master Mode, it is absolutely a necessity to have. So if you guys do want to see like a progression guide for mage setups or berserk setup, archer setup, tank setup, let me know. I will go through the whole progression from floor 1 all the way to M7. So yeah, let me know if you guys want to see that, and I will definitely make a video on that. Hopefully you guys found this video useful, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks so much for watching. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.